Hey everyone, CW Music here. I'm CWD, and I wanted to offer up my opinion on what's going on in the Middle East. No, I'm kidding. I actually want to offer up my opinion on the execution of certain people's opinions about what's going on, specifically with the Israel-Palestine area. I'm talking about that boycott that Roger Waters and Thurston Moore got going on. If you're not in the know, there's a big boycott against Israel, specifically Roger Waters of Pink Floyd and Thurston Moore of Sonic Youth. Basically, they have made the decision to no longer play shows there, and this boycott has been going on for quite a while now, and every time a band or musician that isn't part of the boycott decides to do a show in Israel, they get a little ire about it. More recently, and this is what caused the most attention for it now, is when Radiohead are supposedly going to do a show in Israel. I think it's in Tel Aviv, if I'm not mistaken. And instead of just trying to converse with Thom, Yorke, Jonny, Greenwood, and the gang about the decision and having mature conversation, they essentially decided to send out a big open letter to Radiohead condemning them for this action, and pretty much getting pretty condescending towards them unintentionally. I get that Roger Waters' intention wasn't to offend Radiohead or anything like that, but there was a much better way of going about it. Radiohead ignored this for a little while until Thom finally said what we were all thinking. Why would you go out and just blast us in public instead of just conversing with them about it privately? Why would you do that? Thom essentially said that they treated them like they have no idea what they're doing, that they're completely ignorant of the socio-political field, more specifically in that area of the world, which would be wrong because they are touring with a band that is of that region. Jonny Greenwood has done a lot of work with people of the Palestinian and sort of Israeli area, namely that album he dropped a couple years back, Junun, with a couple of other people. On top of that, Jonny's married to someone that is of that region, so they are pretty acquainted at a certain extent to the apartheid, the war crimes that are going on in Israel. From there, the reasons why you pretty much go to a country and do a show there versus why you don't is kind of subjective to me. I'm kind of thinking back to a year ago when we had that bathroom ban in North Carolina, and every musician, or most every musician, was pretty much saying, no, we're not going to do a show in North Carolina until the ban was lifted. It's not to say every musician did that. Obviously, some musicians just didn't care about the whole thing, or they did care, but they did a show in protest, pretty much. I remember when Against Me did a show there, and Laura Jane Grey pretty much burnt her birth certificate. Animal Collective did a show there where they offered up all of the proceeds to donations for the LGBTQ community. And Duran Duran did a show there, and it was like a big flaming gay spectacle, which was awesome. So I'm not against boycotts in a sense, I'm just only against them if you've been doing them for like years and years and years now and there's no effect to them. And that's exactly what's going on with this boycott Roger Waters and company are doing. Boycotts are more effective in a country where they are more inclined to listen to those within the art field. Ironically enough, with the US right now. Because back in the day, Indiana had sort of a religious freedom rule that allowed stores to discriminate against people that of, you know, different sexual orientations, and Wilco learned about this and they pretty much boycotted the state, saying that they were never going to do a show in that state again. And not long after that, the bill was revised and the show started back up anyway. So I'm okay with boycotts when it's that effective, but when it's just taking years and years and years, yeah, it might not be doing well. Not only that, but the fact of the matter is you're making the self-conscious decision to deny people that aren't part of the whole apartheid thing, potentially. A show, if they're a big fan of, say, Thurston Moore's solo work or Roger Waters' solo work, you're denying them that just on the basis of what the government is doing and not what the entire country feels. And that's exactly what Thom said. It's pretty much the equivalent of what's going on with the US. The majority of us don't all approve of the current administration. So there's no sense in boycotting the entire country when the entire country doesn't approve of, say, Muslim bans or defunding Planned Parenthood or anything of that nature. If anything, unintentionally, it pretty much makes the West look a little worse. But ultimately, it all comes down to this. There is a reason that I have a sort of disdain for the internet or something of this entity. There is no dialogue. There is no actual communication between people. There's just shouting. Instead of like having legitimate debate or discussion about this leading to a mutual contribution, leading to a mutual accomplishment or a mutual goal. Because I'm pretty sure Roger and Radiohead and everyone else involved in this little fiasco are all on the same side when it comes to violence going on in the apartheid between Israel and Palestine. It's just that there's no compromise or communication between the two to like reach that goal. It reminds me of way back in the day, like the late 1800s to early 1900s, when you had disagreement between Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. They had the same thing in mind, the eventual advancement of the black community, but they had different perspectives on the matter, and they ultimately had no compromise between the two in order to fix this. But the fact of the matter is, they did not have the internet back then. We have it now. I mean, if I can take this thing and just Skype my friend in India, or Skype somewhere in Pennsylvania, or Skype anywhere with some kind of internet access, then I'm pretty sure two of the most influential musicians on the face of the planet, or two or three of them, maybe even more, can ring each other up or visit each other and talk about this. One side needs to stop insinuating that the other side has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And the other side needs to stop, feeling like that the other side is full of it. They need to talk to each other. And this is not just about the Israeli-Palestinian thing. This is about just the whole piece of everything that revolves around art and culture. Instead, what ends up happening is that one side gives their perspective and blasts the other, and the whole fan base follows in suit blindly, and the other side retaliates, and the fan base that they have follows in suit blindly as well. This is not good at all, and nothing good comes out of this. So yeah, I just think this whole thing is kind of ridiculous at the moment. It's probably going to transpire in a certain way later. Radiohead is obviously going to keep doing this show in come July. And if you are a Israeli or a Palestinian that's watching this that is able to go to that show, I wholeheartedly recommend it. I saw them live a couple months ago. If anything is an effective escape from the sort of atrocity that's going on over there, then art and culture, especially a Radiohead show, is definitely a good form of escape there to help you forget all the wrong that's going on in the world. But if you heard about this, then what did you think of this situation? Is Roger Waters right in blasting Radiohead? Is Radiohead right in criticizing them? Is it all ridiculous? Let me know in the comments below. This is CWD Music here, signing off.